The champagne glass slipped from my hand and shattered on the marble floor, the sound echoing through the quiet hallway like a gunshot. But I barely heard it. My eyes were frozen on the bedroom door that stood slightly ajar, and the sounds coming from inside made my blood run cold. It was my fiancée's voice. Chitter's voice. But she wasn't alone. I had flown in 3 days early from my business trip to Johannesburg. I wanted to surprise her before our wedding, which was scheduled for next Saturday. Everything was ready: the venue at Eco Hotel, the 500 guests, the designer dress from Dubai, the honeymoon tickets to Seychelles. My mother had spent millions on this wedding. My entire family was arriving from different parts of Nigeria. The invitations had gone out. The cake was ordered. Our lives were planned. But now, standing in the hallway of the luxury penthouse I had bought for us in Ikoyi, Lagos, I felt my entire world crumbling. I pushed the door open slowly. My hands were shaking. My heart was pounding so hard I thought it would burst through my chest. What I saw made me stumble backward. Chitra was in our bed. Our bed. The bed I had specially ordered from Italy. And she wasn't alone. The man with her turned his head, and when our eyes met, I felt like I had been punched in the stomach. It was Emeka, my cousin, my best friend since childhood, the man I had chosen as my best man. Chukwudi. Chitra gasped, pulling the sheets around herself. But there was something in her eyes. Not shame. Not guilt. Something else. Something cold. I couldn't speak. I couldn't move. I just stood there, staring at the two people I had trusted most in the world. Emeka climbed out of the bed slowly, reaching for his clothes. "Guy, I can explain." "Explain?" The word came out of my mouth like poison. "Explain what, Emeka? Explain how you've been sleeping with my fiancée? Explain how long this has been going on." "Chukwudi, please." Chitara started. "How long?" I shouted. My voice cracked. "How long have you been betraying me?" Chitara looked at Emeka, and something passed between them. A look. A secret. And that's when I knew. This wasn't just a mistake. This wasn't just one time. "Since the beginning," Emeka said quietly. "Since before you even proposed." The room spun. I grabbed the doorframe to steady myself. "What?" "I'm sorry, Chukwudi," Chitara said, but her voice was flat. Empty. "I never loved you. I loved Emeka. But you had the money. The family name. The future." I felt something break inside me. Something that could never be repaired. So this whole time, the whole year we've been together, planning our wedding, meeting my family, it was all a lie? "Not a lie," she said, standing up now, wrapping herself in a robe. "A strategy. Your mother is one of the richest women in Nigeria. Your family controls half the oil business in the country. Marrying you meant securing our future. Mine and Emeka's. Our future?" I looked at my cousin, the man I had grown up with, played football with, shared secrets with. "You were planning this together?" Emeka wouldn't meet my eyes. "We needed the money, Guy. Your family has everything. We have nothing. I trusted you." I screamed. "I loved you both." "Love doesn't pay bills," Chitara said coldly. "And your mother already transferred 10 million naira into my account for wedding expenses. Non-refundable." I stared at her. This woman I had planned to spend my life with. This woman I had introduced to my mother, my grandmother, my entire family. This woman who had sat at our dinner table, prayed with us, called my mother, Mama. It had all been a con. "Get out," I whispered. "This is my house too," Chitara said. "Your name is on the papers, but I live here. Get out." Something in my voice must have frightened them because they quickly gathered their things and left. As the door slammed, I collapsed onto the floor, surrounded by broken glass and broken dreams. I didn't know it then, but this was only the beginning. What I would discover in the coming days would be so much worse than infidelity. There were secrets buried in my family. Secrets about my birth. Secrets about my mother's wealth. Secrets that people had killed to protect. And at the center of it all was a woman I had never met. A woman whose name I would soon learn. A woman who had been erased from my family's history. My real mother. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me take you back. Back to where this story truly began. Not in that bedroom with broken trust and shattered glass, but 28 years earlier, in a small village in Enugu state, where a young housemaid named Adanna fell in love with the wrong man and paid for it with everything she had. What would you have done if you caught your fiancé with your best friend just days before your wedding? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and if you're new here, subscribe because this story is about to take turns you won't believe. 28 years earlier, in a small compound in Nsukka, Enugu state, a young woman named Adanna swept the large courtyard as the sun rose over the horizon. She was 18 years old, beautiful, with skin like polished ebony and eyes that sparkled with intelligence. But her beauty was not her fortune. It was her curse. Adanna had come to work as a housemaid for the Okafor family 6 months earlier, after her father died and left her mother with 6 younger siblings to feed. The Okafors were not yet the oil dynasty they would become, but they were wealthy enough. Chief Okafor owned several businesses in Enugu, and his wife, Obiageli, ran the household with an iron fist. They had one son, Adanna, 25 years old, recently returned from studying business in London, handsome, charming, and kind. Too kind, especially to the help. Adanna, he would say, "You don't have to call me sir. We're not that different, you and I." But they were different as the sun and the moon. He was the heir to a fortune. She was a village girl who sent every kobo she earned back to her family. Yet somehow, impossibly, they fell in love. It started with stolen glances. Then conversations in the garden after everyone had gone to sleep. Then touches. Then kisses. Then promises whispered in the dark. "I will marry you," Adanna told her one night, holding her face in his hands. "I don't care what my mother says. I don't care about tradition. I love you, Adanna. Only you." She believed him. God help her, she believed him. 3 months later, she discovered she was pregnant. When she told Adanna, his face went pale. "Are you sure?" "Yes," she whispered. "I went to the clinic in town. The doctor confirmed it." For a long moment he said nothing. Then he pulled her into his arms. "Don't worry," he said. "I'll talk to my father. I'll make him understand." But he never got the chance. That same evening, Obiageli caught them together in the garden. She had suspected something for weeks, the way her son looked at the housemaid, the way he made excuses to be near her. But seeing them embrace, seeing the love in their eyes, filled her with a rage so pure it burned. "You filthy witch!" Obiageli screamed, grabbing Adanna by her hair and dragging her across the compound. "You dare seduce my son? You dare pollute this family with your village poverty?" "Mama, stop." Adanna tried to pull his mother away, but she was possessed. "She's pregnant," Obiageli shrieked. "I can see it in her face. This useless girl is carrying a bastard and trying to trap you." Adanna fell to her knees. "Please, Ma. I love him. We love each other." "Love?" Obiageli spat in her face. "You think love matters? You think my son will throw away his future for a housemaid? You are nothing. You will always be nothing." Chief Okafor came running from the house. "What is this noise?" "Your son has been fornicating with the help," Obiageli said coldly. "And now she claims to be pregnant." Chief Okafor's face hardened. He turned to his son. "Is this true?" Adanna stood tall. "Yes, father. And I intend to marry her." The slap came so fast that Adanna gasped. Chief Okafor had struck his son across the face with such force that Adanna stumbled. "You will do no such thing," Chief Okafor said quietly. "Tomorrow you will marry Ugochi, the daughter of Senator Nwosu, as we have arranged. This alliance will secure our family's future. One phone call from the senator, and we will have the oil contracts that will make us one of the richest families in Nigeria." "I won't do it," Adanna said. "I won't abandon Adanna." "Then you will have nothing," Chief Okafor said. "No inheritance. No family. No future. Choose now, Adanna. Choose between this housemaid and everything we have built." Adanna watched Adanna's face. She saw the struggle there, the pain, the conflict. And in that moment, she knew she had lost him. "I need time to think," Adanna whispered. You have until morning, his father said. Then he turned to Adanna. Pack your things and leave. Tonight. If you ever contact my son again, if you ever try to claim that child is his, I will destroy you and everyone you love. Do you understand? Adanna nodded, tears streaming down her face. Wait, Obiageli said, her eyes glittering with malice. We can't let her leave with that thing in her belly. Who knows what lies she'll tell? What claims she'll make? What are you suggesting? Chief Okafor asked. Obiageli whispered something in her husband's ear. Adanna couldn't hear the words, but she saw the way Chief Okafor's eyes widened, then slowly nodded. It's the only way, Obiageli said. The only way to protect our family. Two of Chief Okafor's security men grabbed Adanna by the arms. She screamed. She fought. She begged. But they dragged her to a car and drove her deep into the bush, far from any village, far from any help. Please, she sobbed. Please don't hurt my baby. The men looked at each other. One of them, a man named Obi, had daughters of his own. He couldn't do what Obiageli had ordered. He couldn't kill a pregnant girl. We'll tell them it's done, he said quietly. But you must disappear. Change your name. Never come back. If they ever find you, they will finish what we couldn't. They left her there, in the darkness, with nothing but the clothes on her back and the child growing inside her. Adanna walked for 3 days. She collapsed at the gates of a Catholic mission in a town called Aba, where a priest named Father Patrick found her and took her in. 7 months later, she gave birth to a baby boy. She named him Chukwudi, God's will. But in Nsukka, Ikenna Okafor married Ugochi Nwosu in the wedding of the year. And the oil contracts were signed. The family's fortune exploded. Within 5 years, they were one of the wealthiest families in Nigeria. Obiageli had one. Or so she thought. Because 18 years later, when Ikenna's marriage remained childless despite every medical intervention, when the pressure to produce an heir became unbearable, Obiageli would make a decision that would bring the past crashing back into their lives. She would find Adanna's son. And she would bring him home. But she would never tell him the truth about who his mother was. And she would make sure that Adanna never, ever saw her son again. I wiped the tears from my face and stood up from the floor, the broken glass crunching under my shoes. My phone had been ringing nonstop for the past hour. My mother. My grandmother. Wedding planners. Caterers. Everyone wanted to confirm details for next Saturday. But there would be no wedding. I looked around the penthouse one last time. Everything here was a lie. The paintings Chidera said she loved. The furniture we had chosen together. Even the photographs on the wall, smiling, happy in love. All manufactured. All fake. I grabbed my car keys and left. As I drove through the streets of Lagos, my mind kept returning to something Chidera had said. Your mother already transferred 10 million naira into my account. How did my mother transfer money without telling me? And why would she give Chidera such a large amount without consulting me first? My mother, Lady Ugochi Okafor, was not a careless woman. She counted every naira, questioned every expense. Yet she had given my fiancé 10 million naira without a word? Something didn't add up. I drove to my mother's mansion in Banana Island. The gate security let me through immediately. They always did. I was the heir. The only son. The prince of the Okafor Empire. Except I wasn't really a son. Not by blood. I had learned the truth when I was 18, the same age my real mother had been when she was cast out. My grandmother, Obiageli, the woman I had called Mama Nuku my whole life, had told me during one of her drunken rages. You're not even my real grandchild. She had screamed at me after I refused to study petroleum engineering as she wanted. You're the son of a housemaid. A common village girl. We bought you to save this family's reputation. I had run to my mother, the woman I had called mother for 18 years, and demanded the truth. Lady Ugochi had cried. She had held my hands. And she had told me a story. She said that after 10 years of marriage she couldn't conceive. The doctors said it was impossible. My father, Ikenna, was devastated. The family needed an heir. So they had made arrangements through a private adoption agency. A poor woman had agreed to give up her baby boy for a large sum of money. The transaction was clean. Legal. Final. We gave you a life, my mother had said. Education. Everything. Does it matter where you came from? You are my son. You are in Okafor. I had believed her. What choice did I have? The woman who raised me, who stayed up with me when I was sick, who celebrated every achievement, who loved me, she was my mother. Blood didn't matter. But now, sitting in my car outside her mansion, I wondered if I had been lied to about more than just my adoption. I found my mother in her study, typing on her laptop. She looked up when I entered, and her face immediately showed concern. Chukwudi, you're back early. Is everything all right? Where is father? I asked. In Abuja. Another meeting with the Ministry of Petroleum. What's wrong? I sat down heavily in the chair across from her desk. The wedding is off. Her fingers froze over the keyboard. What? I caught Chidera with Emeka. In our bed. They've been together the whole time. It was all a con to get access to our money. I expected shock, outrage, sympathy. Instead, my mother's face went completely blank. Carefully blank. Like she was hiding something. I see, she said quietly. That's all you have to say? I see? She closed her laptop and folded her hands. What do you want me to say, Chukwudi? That I'm surprised? I'm not. You knew. I suspected. The words hit me like a physical blow. You suspected that my fiancé was cheating on me, and you said nothing? I had no proof, she said calmly. Only intuition. And you seemed so happy. I didn't want to hurt you without being certain. So you gave her 10 million naira instead? Something flickered in my mother's eyes. Fear? Guilt? How did you know about that? She told me. Bragged about it actually. Said you'd already transferred it and it was non-refundable. I leaned forward. Why, mother? Why give her so much money without telling me? My mother stood up and walked to the window, her back to me. For a long moment, she said nothing. When she finally spoke, her voice was different. Harder. Because she was blackmailing me. The room went silent. What? 3 months ago, Chidera came to me privately. She said she had discovered something about our family. About you. About your adoption. She had documents. Records. Names. My mother turned to face me, and I saw something in her eyes I had never seen before. True fear. She knew where you came from. She knew who your real mother was. My heart started pounding. What are you talking about? You said the adoption was through an agency. A private transaction. I lied. The words hung in the air like smoke. There was no agency. No transaction. There was only a scared young woman and a family desperate for an heir. Tell me the truth, I whispered. All of it. My mother sat down again, and for the first time in my life, she looked old. Tired. Defeated. Your real mother's name is Adanna. She was our housemaid. Your father, Adanna, fell in love with her. She got pregnant. My mother-in-law, Obiageli, tried to have her killed. But the men she sent couldn't go through with it. They let her go. The room was spinning. Father? My father is actually my biological father. Yes. And when we couldn't have children of our own, when the pressure became unbearable, Obiageli sent people to find Adanna. They found her in ABA, working as a seamstress, raising you alone. She had named you Chukwudi. Tears were streaming down my face. So you took me from her? We paid her, my mother said defensively. 5 million naira. That was a fortune 18 years ago. She signed papers. She agreed. She was poor. Desperate. You bought her child. We saved you, my mother shouted. We gave you everything. Education. Opportunity. The future. What would you have had with her? Poverty? Hunger? Nothing. I would have had my mother, I said quietly. Lady Ugochi looked away. She was paid. She agreed. It's done. Where is she now? Adanna. Where is my real mother? I don't know. After we took you, she disappeared. We never heard from her again. I stood up, my legs shaking. You're lying. Chidera found her. She found records. That means there's a trail. That means Adanna is out there somewhere. Even if she is, what difference does it make? She gave you up. She took the money. She walked away. She was forced. I screamed. You people destroyed her life and then bought her baby. Mind how you speak to me, my mother said coldly. I am still your mother. I raised you. I loved you. You lied to me. About everything. I turned to leave, but my mother's voice stopped me. If you go looking for her, you'll destroy this family. The scandal alone will ruin us. And if the truth comes out about how we acquired you, about the illegal adoption, the forged documents, we could lose everything. The business, the reputation, everything we've built. I looked back at her. Maybe you should lose everything. Maybe that would be justice. I walked out, leaving her standing there alone in her mansion of lies. As I drove away, I made a decision. I would find Adanna. I would find my real mother. And I would learn the whole truth, no matter what it cost. But I had no idea that there were others who had been searching for Adanna too. Others who had their own reasons for keeping her silent. Others who would kill to protect the secrets she carried. And at the center of it all was my grandmother, Obiajili, the woman who had ordered Adanna's death 28 years ago and had been planning to finish the job ever since. Have you ever discovered that your entire life was built on a lie? What would you do if you found out your family had stolen you from your real mother? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to like and share this story with someone who loves African family dramas. I didn't go home that night. I couldn't. Instead, I checked into a hotel in Victoria Island and sat on the bed, staring at my phone. There were 37 missed calls. 20 from my mother. 10 from my father. 7 from various family members who had somehow already heard that the wedding was in crisis. But there was one message that made my blood run cold. It was from an unknown number. If you want to know the truth about Adanna, come to this address tomorrow at noon. Come alone. Tell no one. Your life depends on it. Below the message was an address in Ajagunal, one of the poorest neighborhoods in Lagos. My hands trembled as I read it again. Who had sent this? How did they know I was looking for Adanna? Had someone been listening to my conversation with my mother? I barely slept that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw images of a young woman I had never met. My real mother. Adanna. What did she look like? Did I have her eyes? Her smile? Did she ever think about me? Did she hate me for the life I had lived while she suffered? The next morning, I dressed in simple clothes, jeans and a t-shirt, and drove to Ajagunal. My Range Rover stood out like a diamond in dirt. People stared as I parked on a narrow street lined with zinc shacks and open gutters. The address led me to a small church. St. Michael's Catholic Church. The paint was peeling, and the roof looked like it might collapse in the next rain, but the cross above the door stood tall and proud. Inside, the church was empty except for one person. An old priest kneeling before the altar, praying. He turned when he heard my footsteps, and I saw that he was very old, maybe 70 or more, with white hair and kind eyes that seemed to see right through me. Chukwudi Okafor, he said. It wasn't a question. You sent the message? I did. My name is Father Patrick. Sit down, my son. We have much to discuss. I sat in the front pew, and Father Patrick sat beside me. For a long moment, he just looked at me, and I saw tears forming in his eyes. You look so much like her, he whispered. So much like Adanna. You know my mother? I knew her. Past tense. He wiped his eyes. I'm sorry to be the one to tell you this, Chukwudi. Your mother is dead. The words didn't make sense at first. They just hung in the air, meaningless sounds. Then slowly they sank in, and I felt something inside me shatter. No, I whispered. No, she can't be. I just found out about her. I was going to find her. I was going to. She died 6 months ago, Father Patrick said gently. Cancer. By the time we discovered it, it was too late. I put my face in my hands and wept. I wept for a mother I never knew. For a life stolen. For a chance that would never come. She never stopped thinking about you, Father Patrick said. Every day for 28 years, she wondered if you were happy. If you were healthy. If you remembered her, even though you were just a baby when they took you. Tell me about her, I begged. Please. Tell me everything. And so Father Patrick told me the story. How he had found Adanna collapsed at the mission gates, pregnant and alone. How he had taken her in, helped her give birth, and watched her raise me for 2 years with a love so fierce it seemed to make her glow. She would sing to you every night, he said. Igbo lullabies that her own mother had sung to her. She worked 3 jobs, cleaning, sewing, selling vegetables in the market, but she never complained. You were her world, Chukwudi. Her reason for breathing. Then why did she give me up? The question came out angry, bitter. She didn't have a choice. When you were 2 years old, people came to ABA. Investigators. Private detectives. They had been searching for Adanna for months, ever since Lady Obiageli decided that her son needed an heir. They found her at the market one day, recognized her from an old photograph. Father Patrick's voice grew dark. They told her that if she didn't give you up voluntarily, they would take you anyway. And then they would make sure she never worked again. Never ate again. They would destroy her family in the village. Her mother, her siblings. They had the power to do it. The Okafor family was already very wealthy by then. So she sold me, I said bitterly. She sacrificed herself for you, Father Patrick corrected firmly. The 5 million naira they gave her? She didn't keep a single kobo. She sent it all to her family in the village. She paid for her siblings to finish school. She built her mother a proper house. She gave them the life she would never have. And what did she have? Grief. Loneliness. Endless nights crying for the son she would never see again. Father Patrick reached into his pocket and pulled out an envelope. Before she died, she gave me this. She made me promise that if you ever came looking for her, I would give it to you. My hands shook as I took the envelope. Inside was a letter, written in neat, careful handwriting. And a photograph. The photograph showed a young woman holding a baby. She was beautiful, with the same eyes I saw in the mirror every morning, the same smile. She was looking down at the baby in her arms with such love, such complete devotion, that it hurt to see it. That baby was me. I unfolded the letter and began to read. My dearest Chukwudi, if you are reading this, then I am gone, and Father Patrick has kept his promise. I do not know if you hate me for giving you away. I do not know if you even remember that I exist. But I need you to know the truth. I loved you more than life itself. You were not a mistake or a burden. You were my miracle, my joy, my everything. When they came for you, I fought with every breath in my body. But I was one poor woman against a powerful family. I had no weapons except my love, and love was not enough. They promised me you would have a good life. Education. Opportunity. A future. Everything I could never give you. So I let you go, knowing it would kill me slowly every day for the rest of my life. I do not ask for your forgiveness. I do not deserve it. I only ask that you remember that somewhere in this world, there was a woman who loved you first and loved you best. Your mother, Adanna. I couldn't read the rest through my tears. I clutched the letter to my chest and sobbed like a child. Father Patrick put his hand on my shoulder. There's something else you need to know, my son. Your mother didn't die of just cancer. She was poisoned. I looked up sharply. What? 3 months before she died, a woman came to see her. A young woman, very beautiful, well-dressed. She said her name was Chidera, and she was doing research for a book about domestic workers in wealthy homes. She wanted to interview Adanna about her time working for the Okafor family. My blood turned to ice. Chidera? Yes. Adanna was suspicious at first, but the woman was very charming. Very convincing. She came back several times, always bringing food and gifts. Then Adanna started getting sick. The doctors said it was cancer, but Father Patrick shook his head. I've been a priest for 40 years. I've seen many deaths. Adanna's death was not natural. You think Chidera poisoned her? I think Chidera was sent by someone who wanted to make sure Adanna would never tell her story. Someone who had everything to lose if the truth came out. My grandmother, I whispered. Obiageli. Father Patrick nodded slowly. The same woman who tried to kill Adanna 28 years ago. The same woman who has spent her entire life building an empire on lies and stolen children. The same woman who would do anything, absolutely anything, to protect her family's secrets. I stood up, rage burning through me like fire. I'm going to destroy her. I'm going to destroy all of them. Be careful, Chukwudi, Father Patrick warned. Your grandmother is a dangerous woman. She has killed before. She will kill again. Let her try, I said. I have nothing left to lose. But I was wrong. I had so much more to lose. Because what I didn't know, what nobody knew, was that I wasn't my grandmother's only victim. There was another child. Another secret. Another stolen life. And when the truth finally came out, it would bring the entire Okafor empire crashing down. I left the church with Adanna's letter pressed against my heart and drove straight to my grandmother's estate in Lekki. The security guards tried to stop me at the gate, but I pushed past them. This was my family's property. I had every right to be here. I found Obiageli in her garden, pruning roses with her bare hands, thorns and all. She was 78 years old but still moved like a woman half her age. Her eyes were sharp as knives when she saw me approaching. Chukwudi, she said, not looking up from her roses. I heard your wedding has been cancelled. What a shame. You knew, I said. You knew about Chidera all along. I know many things. Did you send her to poison Adanna? Finally, she looked at me. Her eyes were cold. I don't know what you're talking about. My mother, my real mother, died 6 months ago. Cancer, they said. But it wasn't cancer, was it? It was poison. And Chidera was there, visiting her, bringing her food. Obiageli smiled. Actually smiled. Adanna is dead? Well, that is news. I've been looking for her for years. Spent a fortune on private investigators. She disappeared so completely after we took you. Changed her name, moved around constantly. Very clever for a village girl. You tried to kill her once. When she was pregnant with me. Yes, I did. No shame. No remorse. Just cold admission. She was polluting my bloodline. Trying to trap my son with her pregnancy. I gave the order to eliminate her. Unfortunately, my men were weak. Sentimental. They let her live. She loved my father. Love. Obiageli spat the word like poison. Love is for poor people. Love doesn't build empires. Love doesn't secure oil contracts worth billions of naira. Your father understood that. Eventually. He married the woman you chose. He lived the life you designed. But he never forgot Adanna, did he? Something flickered in Obiageli's eyes. Anger. Your father was weak. He cried for that housemaid for years. Even after he married Ugochi, even after they built this empire together, he would drink himself stupid and cry about the village girl who got away. So you found her. You found me. And you took me from her. I gave you a life. Obiageli shouted. I turned you from a bastard nobody into an Okafor. You should be thanking me on your knees. You destroyed 2 lives to save your reputation. 2 lives. Obiageli laughed bitterly. Try 4. The world stopped. What? Obiageli set down her pruning shears and looked at me with something like satisfaction. Did you really think you were the only one? Did you think your father only strayed once? My legs felt weak. What are you saying? After we took you from Adanna, your father fell apart. Started drinking heavily. Started sleeping with anyone who would have him. Drivers, secretaries, market women. He was punishing himself, I think. Trying to fill the hole that losing Adanna had created. I don't want to hear this. You need to hear this, Obiageli said cruelly. 5 years after we brought you home, your father got another woman pregnant. A nobody. A clerk at one of our offices in Port Harcourt. Her name was Nkem. No. Oh yes. And this time, he wanted to keep the baby. Wanted to marry the woman, divorce Ugochi, destroy everything we had built. So I made sure that didn't happen. What did you do? I arranged for Nkem to have an accident. A car crash on 3rd Mainland Bridge. Very tragic. She was 6 months pregnant at the time. Horror washed over me. You killed her? You killed a pregnant woman? I killed a problem, Obiageli said flatly. And I would do it again. This family, this empire, is bigger than any one person. Bigger than you. Bigger than me. I have sacrificed everything to build what we have. I will not let it fall because of weak men and their foolish hearts. I stumbled backward. You're a monster. I'm a survivor. There's a difference. She picked up her shears again. Now, if you're quite finished with your moral outrage, you can leave. You have a wedding to cancel properly. Guests to notify. Deposits to lose. I'm going to tell everyone, I said. I'm going to tell the world what you did. To Adanna. To me. No, you won't. Watch me. Because if you do, Obiageli said calmly, I will make sure that your father goes to prison. He was complicit in the illegal adoption. He signed the forged documents. He paid the bribes. And your mother, Lady Ugochi, she knew everything. She helped cover it up. One phone call from me to the right people, and they both spend the rest of their lives behind bars. You would destroy your own son? To protect this family? Absolutely. She smiled. You see, Chukwudi, that's the difference between you and me. You still believe in things like love and justice and fairness. I believe in power. And power requires sacrifice. I turned to leave, my whole body shaking with rage and grief. One more thing, Obiageli called after me. That girl, Chitra, she didn't act alone. Someone hired her. Someone paid her to get close to you, to search for information about Adanna, and yes, to poison her when she was finally located. I froze. You. Don't be stupid. Why would I hire someone to find information I already knew? No, someone else wanted to know about your past. Someone who had their own reasons for digging up old secrets. Who? Ask your father. I drove to Abuja that same night. 5 hours of darkness and rage and grief. I arrived at my father's hotel at 3 a.m. and pounded on his door until he opened it. Ikenna Okafor looked old. Tired. When he saw my face, he knew that I knew. Chitra worked for you, I said. You hired her to find Adanna. He nodded slowly and let me inside. Why? I demanded. Why did you need to find her? My father poured himself a drink with shaking hands. Because I never stopped loving her. Because every day for 28 years I thought about her. Wondered if she was alive. If she was happy. If she ever forgave me for being too weak to fight for her. So you sent your investigator to poison her? No. He looked horrified. Gano. I hired Chitra to find Adanna, yes. To locate her. To see if she was well. I was going to give her money. Support. Make amends somehow. But when Chitra reported back that she had found her, and that Adanna was sick, I sent money for treatment. For the best doctors. Everything. But she died anyway. Yes. Tears rolled down my father's face. And I didn't even know until weeks later. Chitra stopped reporting to me. Stopped answering calls. I tried to find her, but she had disappeared. She came to me, I said. Pretended to fall in love with me. Got close to our family. And then she extorted money from mother using information about Adanna. My father's eyes widened. What? Mother gave her 10 million naira to keep quiet about the adoption. About Adanna. About everything. That's impossible. Your mother doesn't have access to that kind of money without my approval. We looked at each other, and the same terrible realization hit us both at the same time. Unless someone else gave it to her, I whispered. Someone with their own fortune. Their own bank accounts. Obiageli, my father said. And suddenly everything made sense. Chitra hadn't been working for my father. She had been working for my grandmother all along. The whole thing, the romance, the engagement, the wedding, had been a setup. What was my grandmother's endgame? My phone rang. It was Lady Ugochi, my mother. Her voice was frantic. Chukwudi, where are you? You need to come home right now. Your grandmother has called a family meeting. She's going to announce something. Something about the inheritance. About who will control the company when she dies. I'm in Abuja with father. Then both of you need to come home. She's planning something, Chukwudi. I can feel it. Something terrible. We drove back to Lagos through the night, my father and I, both of us silent, both of us knowing that we were heading towards some kind of reckoning. The family meeting was scheduled for the next morning at the main Okafor estate. As we pulled through the gates, I saw cars everywhere. All my uncles, aunts, cousins. The entire family had been summoned. And standing at the door, smiling like a cat who had caught a very fat mouse, was Chidera. My grandmother had invited my ex-fiancée to our family meeting. This wasn't about inheritance. This was about destruction. Do you think Chukwudi should have confronted his grandmother alone? What would you have done if you discovered your whole family was built on murder and lies? Drop a comment below, and make sure you're subscribed because the next chapter reveals a twist that will leave you speechless. The family meeting took place in the grand ballroom of the Okafor estate. 50 members of my extended family sat in chairs arranged in a semicircle, all facing a raised platform where my grandmother sat on what looked like a throne. She had dressed for the occasion in full traditional attire, wrapper, blouse, and geli, all in white. Like a queen. Like a judge. Chidera sat beside her, looking nervous now, not as confident as she had seemed at the door. My father and I entered together, and the room went silent. Every eye turned to us. Adanna, my grandmother said. Chukwudi, how good of you to join us. Please, sit. We sat in the front row, next to Lady Ugochi. My mother's hand found mine and squeezed it tightly. She was terrified. I could feel it. I have called you all here today, Obiageli began, her voice carrying across the room, because it is time for truth. Time for the secrets of this family to finally be revealed. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. My uncles and aunts leaned forward, sensing scandal. For 28 years, we have maintained a lie. A necessary lie, but a lie nonetheless. She gestured to me. Chukwudi, stand up. I stood slowly, my heart pounding. This young man, whom we have called the heir to the Okafor fortune, whom we have groomed to take over our empire, is not who you think he is. He is not the biological son of Adanna and Ugochi Okafor. He is the illegitimate child of my son and a housemaid named Adanna. We took him from her when he was 2 years old and raised him as our own. Gasps erupted throughout the room. My cousins stared at me with shock and, in some cases, barely concealed glee. I was being dethroned before their eyes. However, Obiageli continued, raising her hand for silence, that is not the biggest secret this family has kept. She turned to Chidera. My dear, please stand and tell everyone who you really are. Chidera stood, her hands trembling. My name is not Chidera, she said quietly. It's Kayamika. Kayamikankem. The name hit my father like a bullet. He half rose from his chair, his face going white. Nkem, he whispered. No. It's not possible. Yes, Obiageli said with satisfaction. Kayamika is the daughter of Nkem, the woman who died in that car crash 23 years ago. Except she didn't die, did she, Adanna? The baby survived. My father looked like he was going to faint. You told me they were both dead. You showed me the death certificates. The burial records. I lied. Obiageli smiled. The mother died, yes. But the baby was born alive through emergency cesarean section. A girl. I had her taken away and placed in an orphanage under a different name. I thought that would be the end of it. Kamika, I couldn't think of her as Chiderani, he was crying now. I grew up never knowing who I was. Never knowing why I was abandoned. It wasn't until 3 years ago that I hired an investigator and discovered the truth. That my mother was killed. That my father was alive and wealthy and had never even looked for me. She turned to my father, her eyes full of rage and pain. You let her die. You let your own mother murder her, and you did nothing. I didn't know, my father shouted, standing now. I swear to God, I didn't know you survived. But you knew she was murdered. Kayamika screamed. You knew your mother killed her, and you stayed silent. You took your blood money and built your empire and forgot all about us. The room was in chaos now. People were shouting, demanding answers. My uncles were on their feet. My aunts were clutching their pearls. Silence. Obiageli's voice cut through the noise like a whip. Sit down, all of you. We sat. Kayamika came to me a year ago, Obiageli continued. She told me who she was. She had documents. Evidence. She threatened to go public with everything, the murder, the illegal adoption, all of it, unless I paid her 50 million naira. Blackmail, one of my uncles said. She was blackmailing you. Yes, Obiageli said. But I am not a woman who responds well to threats. So I made her a counteroffer. I would give her everything she wanted, money, recognition, a place in this family, if she did one thing for me first. What? I asked, though I already knew the answer. I asked her to seduce you, Chukwudi, to get close to you, to make you fall in love with her. And then, when the time was right, to break your heart so completely that you would never trust anyone again. The cruelty of it took my breath away. My grandmother had weaponized my own sister, because that's what Kayamika was, my half-sister, against me. Why? I asked. What was the point? To prove that you are weak, Obiageli said simply. Like your father. Like all the men in this family. You fall in love with the wrong women. You let your emotions control you. You make decisions with your heart instead of your head. And that is why you will never truly be an Okafor. She stood, and the room seemed to shrink around her presence. I am 80 years old. I will not live forever. And when I die, someone must take control of this empire. Someone strong. Someone ruthless. Someone who understands that power requires sacrifice. She looked around the room. It will not be Ikenna. He is too weak, too haunted by guilt. It will not be Chukwudi. He is too soft, too consumed by ideas of justice and fairness. Then who? Lady Ugochi asked, her voice shaking. Obiageli smiled. Kayamika. She will inherit everything. The companies. The properties. The oil contracts. All of it. The room exploded. My father lunged forward, but security guards, men I had never seen before, appeared from nowhere and held him back. You can't do this, he shouted. She's not even. She's your daughter, Obiageli said coldly. Your biological daughter. And unlike Chukwudi, she wasn't stolen from her mother through lies and manipulation. She was rescued from poverty and abandonment. She has earned her place through strength and cunning. I looked at Kayamika. She was staring at the floor, tears streaming down her face. You knew about this? I asked her. You knew she was planning to make you the heir? Not at first, Kayamika whispered. At first, I just wanted revenge. I wanted to hurt your father the way he hurt my mother. But then Obiageli showed me what I could have. Not just money, power, control, a chance to make something of myself. By destroying me? You had everything, she screamed, finally looking at me. You were raised in mansions while I slept in orphanages. You ate from silver spoons while I begged for food. You had a father who claimed you while mine pretended I didn't exist. So yes, I hurt you. And I would do it again. Lady Ugochi stood up. This is insane. You can't just rewrite the inheritance like this, Obiageli. There are laws, wills, legal documents. All of which I control, Obiageli said. I built this empire. Every brick, every contract, every naira came from my vision and my strength. And I will decide who inherits it. Then I'll contest it in court, my father said. I'll expose everything. The murders. The illegal adoption. All of it. Go ahead, Obiageli said calmly. And I will make sure that you spend the rest of your life in prison for your role in all of it. The forged documents have your signature. The bribes were paid from your accounts. You helped cover up Nkem's murder by accepting the false death certificates and never investigating further. She had thought of everything. She had been planning this for years, maybe decades. Every move calculated. Every escape route blocked. I looked around the room at my family. These people I had known my whole life. And I realized that none of them would help me. They were already calculating their positions in the new order. Already deciding whether to align with Kayamika or try to curry favor with the new heir. There is one more thing, Obiageli said, and something in her voice made my blood run cold. The woman who raised Chukwudi, Adanna, she didn't just die of cancer as Father Patrick believed. The poison that killed her was administered over many months, slowly, carefully, so that it would look like natural illness. She turned to Kayamika. And it was you who gave it to her, wasn't it, my dear? You who visited her, brought her food, won her trust. Kayamika's face crumpled. You told me it was medicine. You said it would ease her pain. And it did, Obiageli said softly. The final pain. The permanent kind. The confession hung in the air. Kayamika had killed my mother. My real mother. The woman who had sacrificed everything for me. I didn't think. I didn't plan. I just moved. I rushed at Kayamika with a roar of rage and grief. But before I could reach her, my father grabbed me, held me back. Don't, he whispered in my ear. Don't give her the satisfaction. Don't let her turn you into a killer too. He was right. If I hurt Kayamika, if I killed her, I would be just like them. Just like Obiageli. Security guards surrounded us. The meeting was over. We were being removed from our own family estate. As we were escorted out, I heard my grandmother's voice one final time. You have 48 hours to vacate all Okafor properties. After that, you are trespassing. And I will have you arrested. We stood outside the gates. My father, Lady Ugochi, and I, dispossessed, disinherited, destroyed. But we were not defeated. Because Obiageli had made one mistake. In her arrogance, in her certainty of victory, she had confessed to murder in front of 50 witnesses. And I had recorded every word. The recording was clear. Perfect. Every word of my grandmother's confession captured on my phone, which I had set to record the moment we entered that ballroom. I had learned something from Kayamika after all. Always have insurance. But I didn't go to the police immediately. Not yet. Because I knew that Obiageli had bought judges, commissioners, and politicians. A simple recording wouldn't be enough to bring her down. I needed something bigger. Something she couldn't buy her way out of. I needed the public. For 3 days, my father, Lady Ugochi, and I stayed in a small hotel in Ikeja, planning our next move. We contacted investigative journalists from major newspapers. We reached out to television producers, radio hosts, social media influencers. We gave them everything. The recording, documents from Father Patrick about Adanna's death, medical records from the hospital where Kayamika was born, evidence of the forged adoption papers. The story broke on a Wednesday morning. By noon it was everywhere. Television, radio, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. The hashtag Okafor scandal was trending #1 in Nigeria. The public was outraged. The story had everything Nigerians loved: wealth, power, betrayal, murder, stolen children, and a villain so evil she could have been from a Nollywood movie. By evening, the police had no choice but to act. The pressure was too great. They arrested Obiageli at her estate as she was preparing dinner, as calmly as if nothing had happened. But Obiageli, even in handcuffs, was still dangerous. You think you've won? She said to the cameras as they led her away. You think exposing me will destroy what I've built? This empire will survive long after I'm gone. And Kayamika will still inherit everything. The law is on her side. She was right about one thing. Despite everything, despite the murders and the lies, Kayamika was still legally positioned to inherit the Okafor fortune. The will was ironclad. Obiageli had made sure of that. But Kayamika surprised us all. 2 days after Obiageli's arrest, she called me. I almost didn't answer. But something in me, maybe curiosity, maybe the fact that she was still my sister despite everything, made me pick up. I need to see you, she said. Her voice sounded different. Broken. Please. Just once. We met at a small restaurant in Suralere, far from the cameras and the chaos. She looked terrible, no makeup, hair uncombed, eyes red from crying. I'm sorry, she said as soon as she saw me. I know it doesn't mean anything. I know it doesn't fix what I did. But I need to say it. I'm sorry, Chukwudi. I wanted to hate her. I wanted to tell her to disappear and never contact me again. But when I looked at her, I didn't see the woman who had betrayed me. I saw a scared, damaged girl who had been manipulated by a monster. Why did you do it? I asked. Was it really just for the money? At first, yes, she said. But then I got to know you. I saw how kind you were. How genuine. And I realized that you were just like me, a victim of Obiageli's games. We were both stolen from our mothers. Both raised on lies. Both used as pawns in her quest for power. She reached into her bag and pulled out a folder. This is the new will. I had my lawyers draw it up yesterday. I'm giving up my inheritance. All of it. Everything will be split equally between you, your father, and Lady Ugochi. And I'm setting up a foundation in my mother's name, Nkem's Foundation, to help children who have lost their parents to violence. I stared at the documents, not quite believing what I was seeing. I don't want her blood money, Kayamika continued. I don't want to be what she tried to make me. I want to be better. And maybe, someday, if you can forgive me, I want to know my brother. My real family. I looked at this woman who had hurt me so deeply, who had killed my mother, who had torn my life apart. And I saw something in her that I recognized, the desperate desire to be loved, to belong, to matter. Adanna forgave me, I said quietly. She forgave me for having the life she couldn't give me. For living in mansions while she suffered. She wrote it in her letter. I pulled out the worn paper I now carried everywhere. She said love is bigger than pain. Bigger than betrayal. Bigger than everything. Tears streamed down Kayamika's face. I killed her. I gave her poison for months, thinking it was medicine. How can you forgive that? I don't know if I can, I said honestly. Not yet. Maybe not ever. But I can try. And I think that's what Adanna would have wanted. Not revenge. Not more pain. Just healing. 3 months later, Obiageli was convicted of conspiracy to commit murder in the death of Nkem. The prosecution couldn't prove she had directly ordered Adanna's death. Kayamika's testimony wasn't enough, and there was no physical evidence after so many years. But the Nkem case was ironclad. Multiple witnesses. Documents. The recording. She was sentenced to 25 years in prison. At 80 years old, it was effectively a death sentence. I visited her once, a week before she was transferred to Kirikiri Maximum Security Prison. She sat across from me in the visiting room, wearing a prison uniform, her white hair now completely gray, her face lined with age. "Have you come to gloat?" she asked. "No," I said. "I came to ask you a question. But why did you do all of this? Was it really worth it?" She looked at me for a long time. "When I was young, younger than you are now, I had nothing. I grew up in a village so poor that children died of hunger every day. I watched my mother beg for food. I watched my father drink himself to death because he couldn't provide for his family. And I swore that I would never be powerless again. So you became a monster instead." "I became strong," she corrected. "I married well. I built an empire. I gave my children and grandchildren everything I never had. And yes, I hurt people along the way. But that's what power requires. Sacrifice." "You sacrificed other people," I said. "Not yourself." "I sacrificed my soul," she said quietly. "Every day, piece by piece, I gave up my humanity to build something that would last. And now you've torn it all down with your recording and your righteousness." "The empire still stands," I said. "The companies still run. The oil still flows. We didn't destroy what you built. We just removed the poison at its roots." She laughed bitterly. "And what will you do with it? You, with your soft heart and your belief in justice? You think you can run an empire with kindness?" "I'm going to try," I said. "I'm going to try to build something different. Something that doesn't require innocent people to die. Something that doesn't steal children from their mothers." I stood to leave, but she called out one more time. "Chukwudi, your real mother, Anne, did she ever forgive me?" I thought about lying. Thought about telling her that Adanna had cursed her name with her dying breath. But that wasn't the truth. "I don't know," I said. "She never mentioned you in her letter. Maybe that was her forgiveness. Maybe she just let you go." I left her there, alone in that visiting room, and I never saw her again. 6 months later, on what would have been Adanna's 50th birthday, we held a memorial service at St. Michael's Catholic Church in Ajigano. Father Patrick presided. My father was there. Lady Ugochi, Kayamika, and dozens of people from the neighborhood who remembered Adanna, the kind seamstress who would mend clothes for free, who would share her last cup of rice, who would sing Igbo lullabies to children who weren't her own. We unveiled a statue in her honor outside the church. A woman holding a child, looking down with infinite love. Underneath, an inscription, Adanna Okonkwo. Beloved mother, your sacrifice will never be forgotten. Kayamika and I stood together, looking at the statue. We weren't close, not yet. Maybe we never would be. But we were trying. Learning to be siblings. Learning to share a father, share a history, share the complicated legacy of a family built on lies. Do you think she would have liked it? Kayamika asked. The statue? I think she would have preferred us to spend the money on orphans or widows, I said. But yes, I think she would have been proud. My father joined us, placing a hand on each of our shoulders. He had aged 10 years in the past months. The guilt and grief had carved deep lines in his face. But he was free now. Free from Obiageli's control. Free from the lies. I failed her, he said quietly. I failed both of your mothers. But I won't fail you. I promise you that. You already did, Kayamika said, not unkindly. You failed us for years. But you're here now. That's what matters. We stood there together, a broken family, learning to be whole again. Learning that love isn't about perfection. It's about showing up, trying, forgiving, growing. The Okafor Empire survived the scandal. Under new leadership, my father's, with oversight from an independent board, we reformed everything. We created fair labor practices. We supported communities affected by oil extraction. We funded scholarships for children from poor families. We used the blood money to wash away some of the blood. It wasn't redemption. Nothing could redeem what had been done. But it was a start. And late at night, when I couldn't sleep, I would take out Adanna's letter and read it again. Her words of love. Her words of sacrifice. Her words of forgiveness. Love is bigger than pain, she had written. Bigger than betrayal. Bigger than everything. I was beginning to understand what she meant. Justice had been served. The villains had fallen. The truth had been revealed. But the real victory wasn't in Obiageli's prison cell or in the inheritance I had reclaimed. The real victory was in choosing to be different. To break the cycle. To build something new from the ashes of the old. My grandmother had taught me that power requires sacrifice. My mother taught me that love is the sacrifice worth making. And in the end, love was stronger than power. It always had been. It always would be. This story reminds us that the sins of the past can echo through generations, but healing is possible when we choose truth over lies and love over revenge. What did you think of how this story ended? Did Kayamika deserve forgiveness? Would you have handled things differently? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and if this story moved you, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone who loves powerful African family dramas. Thank you for staying until the end. See you in the next story.